Good morning, winners. Welcome to another week, week 11 in the video series. What I'm going to do this week is I'm going to talk about a topic that I did in a live meeting last week. And I got so much feedback from the live meeting. A lot of people reached out to me afterward and said how valuable it was and wanted to kind of refresh and get some additional information that I figured we would just make this week 11 lesson. And week 11 lesson's about introductions. And the foundation of what we do, the foundation of growing your new business, is to meet new people. As silly as that sounds, I can make you guys a lot of money. I can add an additional six-figure to your income. I can double your sales in many cases if we do nothing more than just meet 2 to 3 people every single day. Now you can take off a few holidays, you can take off a week or two for vacation, and let's say that you meet 3 new people 300 days a year, right? That gives you 65 days, which is basically, 2 days, 2 months to not meet new people. So that's a lot of time. So 300 out of the 365 days, we're going to meet new people 2 to 3 times. That's 600 to 900 new people next year. Now, not all of them are going to buy within the next month or two, but as you get these people into your pipeline, if you've connected with them correctly, what's going to happen is they're going to turn into buyers, they're going to turn into sellers, they're going to turn into refis, and you guys are going to notice the fruits of that labor. So what we're doing is every day we're planting 2 seeds. Every day we're planting 3 seeds. Now, the key to all of this is connecting with 2 people, which means we might have to talk to 4 or 5 people, right? Because if I talk to somebody and they're from Canada, they're here visiting for a week and they have no intention of moving here, it's not really a connection. What I'm talking about is connecting with somebody who lives here, who lives in a home or wants to buy a home or who can see themselves buying a home, who's refinancing, who's, moving, whatever the case is, but somebody who's a connection of a potential to do business with. Understand that once you meet them, you have to connect with them and then you have to put them into a follow-up system, a CRM. And when they're in that CRM, they could be a potential for 1 month, for 6 months, for a year from now, for 2 years from now, who knows? But we're just planting seeds. We have to connect to plant that seed though. And so I'm going to keep harping on the connection part, right? So I'm going to give you a little advice that's worked for me for almost 20 years about how to meet people, how to connect with people. We know, and we've talked before, about dopamine and how one of the largest releases of dopamine in a person's brain is having them talk about themselves. So it seems counterintuitive, but when I introduce myself, what I actually want to do is I want to ask questions. That's the most important thing I can do. I think it's okay to be humble about exactly what you're doing. And I think it's okay to be honest about exactly what you're doing when you're trying to meet people. And so what we talked about in this meeting was, for now, especially in the beginning, just let people know you're going through a program. And I would walk up and I would say something like, "Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a local realtor. Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a local loan officer here in Scottsdale, here in Phoenix, here in Arizona, here in whatever you want to say, wherever you want to say you're from." If you're hyper-targeting a market, a certain neighborhood, then you would obviously want to do that. But for introductions, we don't know if they want to move there, so I would keep it more general. So, hi, I'm Matt. I'm a local real estate agent, and one of my principles in business is to meet 2 new people every day. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. What's your name? And they'll give you their name, and you just want to keep this all very conversational. So it's going to be a script. And I'll attach a script for you, but you're just going to start asking a series of questions. And the 3 sort of topics that I want to walk through with people are geography. Where are they from? Are they from here? Talk about the geography of them, their professional life, right? Their occupation, and their hobbies and interests. So the way that you kind of walk through all this is, "Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a local realtor. One of my principles in business is to meet 2 new people every day." Obviously, you're going to smile. You'll be very comfortable, be very relaxed. Extend your hand to them. "What's your name?" And they'll give you their name. And then from that point, you can kind of just move forward and start asking these geography, occupation, interests questions. And so After they gave me their name, I'd say, "Oh, that's wonderful to meet you, Joe. Are you from Arizona?" And they'll say yes or no. And if they say, "Yes, I'm from Arizona," you're just going to say, "Oh, what part of town did you work in?" Or excuse me, what part of town did you grow up in? And they're going to start talking about that. And have you lived any other places other than Arizona? And then you start talking about that. If they have not, say, "Wow, you're one of the few natives." And then you can move on to occupation, because you're not going to get a lot out of that. If they say, "No, I'm not from Arizona," that conversation can take a bit. And it's actually a good thing, because we're going to say, "Well, where are you from?" And they're going to tell you where they're from. And we go into, what made you move here? Most of the time it's going to be a job or a spouse's job. What do you like most about Arizona since you've been here? And let them talk about what they like the most. What do you miss most about Michigan or Ohio or wherever they happen to move from? Let them talk about that for a little bit. And just transition right into, now, Joe, what kind of work do you do? Now, keep in mind that I want to keep using their name, because it's going to create a connection also. They're talking about themselves. It's giving them dopamine. Keep adding their name in there. So when I transition to each of these new categories, I just want to use their name again. Now, Joe, what kind of work do you do? And they might say that, I'm a general sales manager at an auto dealership down the street, whatever. And how long have you been in the auto industry? And they're going to tell you about that. And what made you decide to get into that? And they're going to talk about, how they started in that. And that's all we want to do. The answers don't matter. What really matters is that we're making that connection. We're getting them to talk about themselves. The dopamine is flowing, which is causing a certain joy in them. And that joy is going to be associated with you, a likability about you, because you're the one asking them questions. When they're done talking about work, you can talk about their hobbies and interests. And so now that you're here in Arizona, what are some of the things you like to do? And they'll kind of walk you through some of those things. If not, ask them, have you been hiking? Try to lead them a little bit. Have you been hiking here in Arizona yet? If they're from Arizona, obviously, you're still going to ask the same thing. So what kind of stuff do you like to do? And they'll tell you, "I like to golf, I like to hike, I like to go boating," whatever. Just ask some follow-up questions about that. Do you get out often? Are you a good golfer? What's your favorite hike? Just asking these questions is the important part, because we're getting that dopamine flowing. At the very end of that, just say, "It was a pleasure meeting you." Say, "I would like to get a phone number or an email so that I can just follow up with you in a couple days and remind you who I am." Which do you prefer, phone or email? So we're not going to say, "Can I," or what. Just be direct. What works better for you for me to follow up, phone or email? So we're not going to leave it an open-ended question. And I know that a lot of times we hear sales that these open-ended questions are sort of the key, and we did that already. So you can kind of cover the open-ended stuff, because we've already asked them a ton of open-ended questions about what do you like most and where are you from, and they get to talk and talk and talk. Now we're funneling them into where we want them to be. And so now is the time where we need to be a little bit more direct and just give them those two options. And so the key to that is, "I'd like to follow up with you just so you remember who I am. What's better for you, phone or email?" And they'll say phone or email, and get one of the two or both. And just do that. I was telling the class a little bit about, I took a seminar once, and the guy giving the seminar was a huge fan of taking a selfie with the person and then just saying, "Hey, just so you remember who I am, let me text this picture to you." And then now you have their cell phone number, and you just send them that quick picture and say, "Hey, great to meet you," and you send it off. And so that's something that, as you become more comfortable, if you want to work it in, that's totally cool. But really the key here is just about making these connections. And I just can't emphasize enough that you can buy leads, and you can go do things, and you can hand out 100 business cards, and you can tell anybody, if you know anybody that wants to buy or sell a home, you might find a needle in a haystack. What I'm talking about right here is, if you talk to a few people, a handful of people every single day, and you make this connection with 2 of them, that's 600 people that are connected, that know who you are, know what you do, and are expecting you to follow up. Now, they may not be buying this month or in 6 months, but we're talking about building a career. We're talking about building a long-term income. And so many of them will. Many of them will buy in a month or refi. Many of them will buy in 6 months or a year, which is all good, because once we get this pipeline full of 600 people, think about the impact of that. Do that for 3 years. That's 1,800 people who you've connected with that are really close to buying or selling at some point in those 3 years. We know statistically they're going to be really close. And so what I'm talking about is generating some revenue for year 1, but even more for year 2 and even more for year 3, because all of this is going to keep snowballing. Because in addition to the 600 that are going to generate some income this year, you're going to have 600 in the pipeline or 500 in the pipeline for next year, plus the 600. And so you just keep this cycle going, and the more people that you connect with, the better off it is. Remember, all of these people are a referral source too. So when we put them into our success sequence, which is how we follow up, part of that is we're going to be asking them for referrals. And so maybe they're not going to buy something right now. But keep in mind that if you've connected with them and they like you, and they refer you, and you go through the same connection process with their referral, number one, you have the social proof of them recommending you. Number two, you're making that connection. This is really a fast and easy way to grow your business. Now, it takes a little bit of bravery, because you've got to start thinking of creative ways. But everywhere you go, every time you step out your door, you're going to meet people that live somewhere. If they're renting, they have to buy sooner or later. If they're in a home, most likely, statistically, we know they're going to move sometime within the next 5 years. We're just going to make them know that we're their first choice when that time comes. If we're in the loan business, we know that they're going to refi. We know that they're going to move. So we just have to be patient. We have to understand we're planting seeds here. This isn't instant gratification, but we will get additional work out of it. We will get additional closes out of it, because we are going to run into some people, right? Now think about that. If you're doing 3 loans a month, selling 3 homes a month, that's 36 a year. We only need 20% or so to double what we did before. And so we're not looking for a magic wand here. What we're looking for is to just build a pipeline that's going to sustain over years. And occasionally we're going to run across somebody that needs us now. But it's an effective way to build your business. And it's a much better way to get referrals. It's a much better way to grow your name and your brand, because we're not talking about, if you know anybody that wants to buy or sell a home, I'd love to help them, because it's too generic and everybody says that. What I just did, the process I just took you through, will work if you take the time to do it and if you practice it, because you have to practice so that this sounds like a conversation, like you actually care where they're from, like you actually care what they do for a living, which you should. If you want them to be a lifelong client, you want them to feed you referrals, you should care what they think. You should care where they're from. So just understand that the important part is to have the courage and the determination to, without fail, meet 2 to 3 new people every month. Every day, which is almost 100 people a month if you're doing 3. But I'm talking about connecting. I'm not just talking about handing somebody a business card, because that's not meeting somebody. Meeting somebody is knowing their name, knowing about their family, knowing where they're from, knowing what their hobbies are, knowing what they do for a living. When you find those things out, you are connected. And when you are connected, you will, unless there's an outside force you can't control. If the guy's brother is a real estate agent here in town, you're probably not going to get that business anyway, right? Aside from weird stuff like that, you're going to build a pipeline of people who know you and like you, and then you just build a little bit of trust and they'll do business with you. So keep in mind, kind of review what we said. When we introduce ourselves, just be transparent. I'm a local realtor, and one of my principles of business is to meet 2 new people every single day. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Matt. What's your name? They give you their name. You repeat it. Great, Joe. Are you from Arizona? They tell you yes. Wow, you're a native. There's not very many of those around anymore. What part of town did you grow up in? They're going to tell you, oh, that's awesome, Joe. Chandler, I love Chandler. What's your favorite restaurant there? Whatever the case is, who cares? Joe, what do you do for a living? Oh, you're a doctor. How long have you been practicing medicine? Very good. Now, what made you decide to become a doctor? That's very dedicated to go through all that schooling, right? And they're going to talk about that. Joe, what kind of stuff do you do when you're not saving lives? You like to hike, you like to golf, you bike riding, whatever the case is. What's your favorite hike? Where's your favorite golf course? Do you do it often? Have that conversation. At the end, all you're going to do is say, it was great meeting you. I'd like to follow up just so you remember me. What works better, phone or email? Get the phone or email, put them into the success sequence, and you've now made a connection. If you do that a few times a day, you will double your business. It is that simple. I mean, we can do a lot of other things to double business, but if I tell somebody, if you want to grow your business, this is the fastest and easiest way. In addition to being fast and easy, this builds a long, deep pipeline that's going to serve you for years. So I hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions about this, you can always reach out to me, 480-436-1820. You guys can email me, mj@map2sales.com. So you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again soon.